A female federal prison guard in court today charged with having an illegal affair with an inmate. That inmate, a convicted cop killer. She's now pregnant and she faces more than a dozen years behind
the least.
Cutting a hole in your pants to make it easier to have sex with an inmate and having intercourse in full view of 11 other inmates is something only a depraved mind.
Minus the fact that what the illegal part of this whole thing would be the sexual side to it, and there was not a sexual side to it.
This is LaTonya Hickbottom, who was discovered to have been sending explicit photos of herself to an inmate held in a high-security prison. As a result, she was charged with the offense of promoting illegal items within the prison. The situation unfolded when the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office received information suggesting that an employee named LaTonya might be involved in a romantic relationship with an inmate named Ramon Cummings. Deputies initiated an investigation and began monitoring the phone conversations between the inmate and Hickbottom. It was during this monitoring process that they discovered something inappropriate was happening between the two of them. Furthermore, during the investigation, deputies also uncovered evidence that LaTonya had deposited $100 into the inmate's personal account for purchasing items from the prison commissary.
Giving contraband to a prisoner, it is a Class 2 felony.
Following the discovery of LaTonya's involvement, a thorough search was conducted, leading to the finding of explicit photos of LaTonya in the inmate's cell. Additionally, a cell phone was also discovered, although it remained unclear how Cummings obtained it. Subsequently, the officers confronted LaTonya about the situation. She confessed to providing photos of herself to another inmate who visited the jail clinic, with the intention of passing them on to her incarcerated romantic partner. However, it was revealed that not all the photos found in Cummings' cell belonged to LaTonya. The sheriff's office disclosed that LaTonya and Cummings had initially met and started dating while she was working at the 4th Avenue jail.
She had a romance with, at least had naked photos of the nurse. She gave those photos to a cellmate or a pod mate, somebody that was also in that housing when he was in medical getting treatment. Then he took those photos back to the inmate.
After the evidence emerged, LaTonya faced a series of dramatic events. Prior to this case, LaTonya was already facing difficulties and had been placed on probation, so this incident became the final tipping point. However, LaTonya Hickbottom's case was particularly unusual, leading one to ponder what her thought process was. It raised questions about who would be gullible enough to be entangled in such a situation, and how someone becomes involved in such activities. Regarding this matter, Dr. Michael Azinski expressed the following thoughts.
Someone with the ability to manipulate, as well as to see the vulnerability in somebody else.
Ramon Cummings, with his history of being accused of sexual assault, murder, and involvement in gang activity, aligns perfectly with the characteristics of a manipulative individual. When he identifies someone vulnerable like LaTonya Hickbottom, boundaries can easily be blurred, resulting in a highly perilous situation.
When it comes to them getting caught, it's very rare that they would stop on their own.
As a consequence of her actions, it is highly likely that LaTonya has had her nursing license revoked. It is evident that she is feeling disheartened by the outcome. Following the investigation, LaTonya was terminated from her position and will have to face the charges against her in an internal affairs court proceeding. This is Tina Gonzalez, a correction officer employed by the Fresno County Sheriff's Office, who engaged in sexual relationships with multiple inmates. In December 2019, the staff at Fresno County Jail received a tip suggesting that a male inmate had a cell phone and was involved in a sexual relationship with Tina Gonzalez. Acting upon the information, they conducted a search of the inmate's cell and indeed discovered the cell phone, confirming the sexual involvement between Tina and the inmate. Following the revelation, a thorough investigation into the crime was carried out, resulting in Tina being charged with serious felonies, including engaging in sexual activity with an inmate, possessing a controlled substance, alcohol, within the jail premises, and a misdemeanor charge for possessing a cell phone with the intention of delivering it to an inmate. Upon being caught, Tina promptly resigned from her position. However, the repercussions of her actions had already left a lasting impact. Fresno County Assistant Sheriff Steve McComas expressed his disgust, stating that it was one of the most repulsive incidents he had encountered throughout his 26-year tenure at the sheriff's office. The details of the case were undeniably shocking, to say the least.
To make it easier to have sex with an inmate and having intercourse in full view of 11 other inmates is something only a depraved mind.
Tina's actions went beyond engaging in relationships with the inmates. She also endangered the safety of other officers. In addition to providing the inmate with a cell phone for communication, she granted him access to razor blades, drugs, and confidential information. This put both inmates and officers at risk, as the inmate could have potentially used the razors to cause harm to others at any given moment.
Communicated sensitive information to the inmate about individuals that were entering the inmate's pod, as well as times and places or times when the pod would be started.
However, what was particularly astonishing was that even after being caught and voluntarily resigning from her job, she persisted in maintaining the relationship.
She continually calls, has sexually explicit conversations with the inmate in question, and even boasts about the crime she carried out, shows that she's incapable of owning up to her mistakes and will undoubtedly continue in the future.
Throughout the entire court proceedings, Tina remained silent and displayed an indifferent expression on her face. Fortunately for her, the judge showed leniency and considered the fact that she had no prior criminal record and had promptly reported her own crime. The defense highlighted the deteriorating state of Tina's marriage since the commencement of the illicit relationship, attempting to argue that she was in a vulnerable position, which should be taken into account during sentencing. Judge Michael Idiot expressed his strong disapproval, stating, "I believe your actions were abhorrent and foolish. You have not only destroyed your professional career, but also endangered the safety of your fellow officers."
I believe that people can redeem themselves. You got the rest of your life to prove that.
She received a prison sentence of 210 days. This is Gemma Cowperthwaite, a correctional officer employed at St. Clair County Jail, who faced accusations of engaging in sexual intercourse with a female inmate at her residence in Fort Gratiot. As a result, she was charged with sexual assault with the intention to commit penetration, which carries a potential sentence of up to 10 years in prison.
Liking to me, she'd asked me if I could talk to her outside of the facility when she got out, and I told her that no, not really. So I gave her my phone number and said, if you want to contact me, if you want to talk outside of here, then I'm okay with it.
According to Gemma's account, she first met the inmate at her own house when the inmate was on work release. The inmate then requested permission to shower at Gemma's place, explaining that she preferred not to use the prison's shower facilities. As their acquaintance developed, their relationship, if it can even be called that, grew. Gemma asserted that she did not abuse her position of power to the extent claimed by the court and the inmate. Nevertheless, Gemma should have been aware that engaging in consensual relations with an inmate is prohibited due to the inherent power dynamics involved. As their relationship progressed, Gemma mentioned that the inmate began reaching out and asking for favors. Gemma admitted to granting some of these requests, believing she was acting out of kindness. However, in the eyes of the court, any actions taken by Gemma constituted an abuse of power. However, Gemma maintains that technically speaking, the law focuses on the sexual aspect, and in her case, there were absolutely no sexual relations involved.
Minus the fact that what the illegal part of this whole thing would be the sexual side to it, and there was not a sexual side to it.
If there was no sexual aspect to the relationship, one might wonder why Gemma decided to accept a plea deal. The truth is, Gemma lacked the emotional and mental fortitude to endure the lengthy legal proceedings.
2 to 4 years solitary confinement in prison. I didn't think I could convince 12 random strangers that this didn't happen.
There is a significant amount of complexity to this situation. Gemma genuinely does not believe that she harmed her victim.
She was the one to reach out to me. She was the one to come to me. She was the one to ask me for help.
After the offense was reported, the authorities initiated an investigation. Subsequently, a warrant for Gemma's arrest was issued, and she voluntarily surrendered herself. During the sentencing process, the judge emphasized that Gemma had betrayed the trust placed in her by both the sheriff's office and the court system. Gemma pleaded guilty to the charge of sexual assault with the intent to commit penetration. As a result, she has been sentenced to serve 10 months in jail, with an additional 4 months suspended contingent upon payment of fines and court costs. Moreover, Gemma will be required to register as a sex offender. This is Denise Prell, who engaged in a relationship with an inmate. However, her actions were discovered, leading to her termination from her position at the correctional facility. She now faces charges including 1 count of second-degree promoting prison contraband, 1 count of third-degree sexual abuse, and 23 counts of official misconduct. According to information revealed in court documents, the inmate and Denise claimed to have fallen in love. They communicated through letters, using aliases Gwen Freeman, with Gwen being derived from Denise's middle name Gwendolyn, and Freeman, hinting at the inmate's anticipated release from prison. Their communication then progressed to phone calls, facilitated by Denise providing a phone she acquired from Walmart. Furthermore, Denise sent $350 to the inmate's prison account. Their relationship had escalated to the point where they made plans to live together once the inmate was released.
Work, they fell in love, wrote to each other using an alias, and talked on a track phone Prell bought at Walmart. Prell told authorities they kissed in the tailor shop one day and touched each other over their clothing. Her lawyer says Prell had no criminal intent and regrets what happened.
Their first intimate encounter occurred in the tailor shop within the correctional facility, where they shared a kiss and admitted to engaging in consensual touching over their clothing. Despite the inmate being transferred to Elmira Correctional Facility, their romantic involvement continued. Denise even visited him there, and they reportedly shared kisses. The discovery of the illicit affair came to light when another corrections officer became aware of Denise's sexual relationship with the inmate. This prompted a joint investigation conducted by the state police, the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, and the Clinton County District Attorney's Office. The investigation confirmed the existence of intimate relations between Denise Prell and the prisoner. Initially, Denise pleaded not guilty to all 25 charges filed against her.
Your Honor, she would waive a formal reading of the charges and enter a not guilty plea to all 25 counts.
At this point, Denise's lawyer intended to file a motion seeking a reduction in the charges against her. However, prior to her trial, she was granted bail.
So she is out on a $5,000 cash bail, and the people have no objection to that continuing. She's made every court appearance.
As the case progressed, the prosecution presented Denise with a plea deal. The offer entailed her pleading guilty to a felony charge of promoting prison contraband in exchange for a reduced sentence.
I don't think that charge is supported by any of the evidence that I've seen, even taking everything that's been said as true. And we're certainly not doing that either. So we rejected it.
This case garnered significant attention and publicity, particularly due to previous incidents within the correctional facility involving illicit affairs and a jailbreak. The significance of the case reached such a level that Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was serving as the governor at the time, made a public comment regarding the charges.
In a system this large, obviously you're going to have deviations. The question is, do you have the systems in place to catch them and resolve them? And that's exactly what we did here.
During the sentencing phase, Denise appeared visibly emotional and was moved to tears. After accepting another plea deal and entering a guilty plea to the charges against her, Denise was ultimately sentenced. In an emotional moment, she received a 1-year prison sentence.
Criminality in this matter, which you've pled guilty to, is difficult, if not nearly impossible, to understand in light of what this community went through.
This is Joyce Mitchell, a prison employee who assisted 2 inmates in their escape from an upstate New York prison. Joyce provided material support to prisoners David Sweat and Richard Matt, enabling them to break out of prison in a manner reminiscent of the film The Shawshank Redemption. As a result, she faced charges of criminal facilitation in the 4th degree and promoting prison contraband in the 1st degree. The events surrounding this case were so extraordinary that they inspired a mini-series called Escape at Dannemora, which even received a Golden Globe Award. Allegedly, Joyce smuggled various tools, including chisels and hacksaw blades, into the prison by concealing them inside frozen hamburger meat. She then entrusted the frozen hamburger to a guard who unwittingly delivered the contraband to the inmates. Additionally, she obtained 6 hacksaw blades and provided them to Richard Matt. However, the allegations went beyond the provision of tools. It was claimed that Joyce engaged in sexual acts, such as oral sex, with one of the men. Joyce vehemently denies having any sexual encounters with them. Nevertheless, an inmate within the prison reported observing Joyce and the men spending extended periods of time alone in a room, leading to rumors and speculation that they were involved romantically. Joyce has stated that her sole reason for assisting the men was due to alleged threats made against her family, particularly her husband.
I did wrong. I deserve to be punished. But, people need to know that I was only trying to save my family.
Using the power tools provided by Joyce, the inmates managed to cut through the back of their cells and break through a brick wall. They also cut open a steam pipe, allowing them to crawl through it. Subsequently, they emerged from a manhole, creating the illusion that they were still in their beds and fooling the prison officials. To further deceive the authorities, they arranged clothing and a hoodie inside their sheets, accompanied by a note that sarcastically read, "Have a nice day." Joyce had initially planned to meet the inmates on the outskirts of the prison with a getaway car, but she failed to appear. Instead, she checked herself into a hospital, claiming to have experienced a panic attack, which disrupted the escape plan and forced the men to regroup. The subsequent escape triggered a statewide manhunt that lasted for several days and sent shockwaves throughout the state.
If they are still in the immediate area or if they are in Mexico.
After eluding capture for a period of 3 weeks, the 2 inmates were eventually apprehended. Richard was shot and fatally wounded by law enforcement, while David was shot and apprehended at the Canadian border. Joyce, on the other hand, entered a guilty plea, and during her sentencing, the judge made the following statement.
I just don't find that explanation credible. Your husband's life would not have been more endangered by exposing the plot to escape.
The judge continued to admonish her, stating that her assertion that the plea deal was too severe was unfounded.
While you express remorse for the harm you caused the community, you also stated that you believe the negotiated sentence is too harsh. Taking into consideration all the various sentencing factors, I can assure you, you have nothing to complain about with the negotiated sentence. For the reasons stated, I will approve the sentence and proceed as follows.
Joyce Mitchell, visibly emotional with tears in her eyes, received a prison sentence of 2 1/3 years to 7 years, and was also ordered to pay a fine of $5,000. This is Kawana Jenkins, a correctional officer who was caught engaging in inappropriate behavior at Fulton County Jail. Kawana was arrested and faced multiple charges, including 2 counts of improper sexual conduct, 2 counts of cruelty to an inmate, 2 counts of reckless conduct, 5 counts of violation of oath of office, and 1 count of providing an unauthorized item to an inmate. Kawana had been working as an officer at Fulton County Jail since 2019, but her misconduct was exposed during a shakedown operation in the maximum security wing of the facility. During the operation, authorities confiscated 11 cell phones and weapons. Among the discovered content on one of the phones were videos featuring Kawana engaging in inappropriate actions. In one video, she was seen sitting on an inmate's lap and kissing him while he requested an item, which turned out to be a pair of Cartier glasses. Another leaked video depicted Kawana engaging in explicit behavior with an inmate while he was still in custody. In the video, if you listen closely, you can hear Kawana making a remark like, "Make sure you bring your own condom so that you won't ejaculate quickly," indicating that they had frequent sexual encounters. It is important to note that she was wearing her uniform and engaged in these activities while on duty in an office setting, which constitutes an abuse of her position. Once the video surfaced online and went viral, the Fulton County Sheriff's Office issued a statement condemning the behavior and announcing Kawana's termination. They emphasized that the actions of a few individuals should not reflect upon the entire Sheriff's Office and reiterated their commitment to transparency and holding employees accountable for their oath to protect and serve the community. The Sheriff of Fulton County expressed his appreciation for the majority of employees who demonstrate integrity, dedication, and perform their duties diligently day in and day out. Charles Rambo, a retired sheriff's supervisor, shared his perspective on the matter, stating,
was compromised, and I hope that she can get the help that she needs, but it definitely needs to be away from the sheriff's office.
According to him, the risk posed by Kawana's lapse in judgment was extremely serious. The confiscated items from the inmates on the maximum security floor serve as evidence of the potential danger. Kawana Jenkins has not yet been sentenced and is currently being held in detention at Fulton County Jail while awaiting the court's decision. However, if her mugshot is any indication, it is clear that she deeply regrets her actions. If the court decides to impose the maximum sentence, she could be facing up to 20 years in prison. It is quite ironic that she has gone from being an employee at Fulton County Jail to becoming an inmate herself. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Watch this next.